Clearly there's been a major plot twist. Started with a big brake upgrade package and discovered a bit of the damp on the inside. Maybe we just strip the whole interior and go full track day. Stay tuned. Alright YouTube, well I don't know what this is all about, but this car, while I was working on the Acura for a week, was out in the rains in the driveway. And it's been sitting in here, it hasn't been driven. Hasn't been getting driven that much at all. But with the front end up in the air working on those brakes, back's on the ground, there is water on the ground. That is not gasoline, it is water. And it is dripping from that corner, like on that insulation material, the body insulation, sound deadening material, on the back side of the rear seat floorboards. Where is that coming from? It is not coming from up higher and dripping down. It is literally coming out of like a little rock chip corner in that sound deadening material. Oh man. I have cleaned those drains before and I just discovered I have wet carpet. Oh my god. Yuck. You've got to be effing kidding me. I literally last fall cleaned those. Alright, well I'm going to get this carpet out on this side. I think it's just this side. And it just stops right there. And we can get in here and see how bad the water situation is. I'm obviously got to get this thing so it doesn't mold. I think I just got to pop this trim, pull these off, get that trim off of the side there on the console. And I should be able to pull that carpet right out, I'm hoping. Alright, well I'm getting the carpet pulled back, all the trim's out. It just pops out of its little poppers. Looks like the carpet goes around the back. What's that Velcroed? I think it's a solid piece on the back side of the two seat mounts. I just need to loosen up some seat bolts, pop the two front ones, rock it backwards. I'm going to leave it connected because hopefully none of the water went to the back. I think it's all coming from right there. Yuck. Well, I cleaned this out with the shop vac and stuck my hand back in underneath here, and it is wet as well from that water running backwards to find a path out. So the rear carpet is coming out. So I'm going to disconnect my battery so I can get this seat out of the car. The rear bottoms of the seats just lift out, they come apart. Super easy. But that section of carpet's coming out as well. I might have to take the center console out because I think this back piece is a single piece that goes all the way across and underneath the center console on the sides and the back. I gotta just let me get this trim out right here, and then I should be able to get my hands under there and figure out what's happening with this carpet. And of course, I don't have room to get the doors all the way open to be able to get that seat out. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do here, but I got it off of its thing and set forward so I can pull the carpet out from under it. I'm not sure if I can get the carpet out from under that center console without pulling the console, but I'm gonna give it a try. Let's see what happens. It's definitely wet under there a little bit. It's been running backwards. I was able to get the driver's seat out, got the center console out. There's a lot out. I had to move my toolbox to be able to get this side of the car open far enough. So now I think I can move that seat into the back, move it over to here, bring it forward, and pull it right out here. Yeah, all this to get out 3 sections of carpet. And it can air out before it molds. I got really lucky that this didn't mold. And there's the back side of this seat. It is definitely water running backwards. But luckily it hit a wall there and didn't go any further back. So it's underneath at that point. It's going through that weld probably. Right down in there. And then finding its way through into the exterior body insulation. But that side over there does not look to be wet. It's just this side. So somewhere there's a drain in there. And it drains down. It's supposed to come out about there. And it's usually broken or clogged or something right there, and it floods back up into here. Oh yeah, 2 seats are out. That wasn't easy to get out that door, and it's backwards. It doesn't want to come out very well. So did more research on these water in the floorboard situations on P2 Volvos, the V70, S60, S80. What I found was, I don't think it's this one, because I've been checking that one religiously because I knew that that can happen. What I found out, and I didn't know this, is there's another one here. It sits down in here. I think the fan and the air filter, the cabin air filter and all that sits down here. And I believe that there's a huge opening underneath this beauty panel that allows the air to get in by the fan wheel. And there's a drain next to it. If that drain gets plugged up, that whole well that's underneath here can fill with water, and then it will find a way into the cabin by going in through the fan or down through the thing. So that's most likely what it is, and I'm going to open this up right now to see if we find signs of water or clogging. Hey YouTube, do me a favor, hit subscribe. We're going to solve the caper of the flooded V70. And if you just happen to be holding on to some V70R Nordcat blue carpets, hit me up. I'd love to upgrade a set while I have this thing still driving around for a couple weeks in track mode. We're going to solve this. Hit subscribe. It's right over there. Let's just say the 1, 2, 3, those 4 pins, those are one-time use only. Those are hot. They've been brittle plastic on there forever. I don't know that this has never been off since I've owned the car. So, you know, it's 24 years old at this point. Yeah, those are one-time use. We're going to put something different in there because prying those out, 2 of them went flying around the garage and I have no idea where they went. So screw them. We'll put new ones. All right. Well, this little edge piece does have a section that goes underneath the windshield glass right there. It is separate from the cowl, but it all comes off together. I do believe I'm going to have to undo my wipers to be able to get enough play, but I was able to pop it up, and sure enough, this little vent right here that I always clean up, pull leaves out of it. It's just a little guide that goes down to another down below it. So that does not look to be clogged whatsoever, although it has been clogged in the past. There's evidence of mud and all kinds of stuff down in there. So I'm going to clean this up, and I don't see any evidence of water though. This hasn't been the recent source, unless the water all evaporated. So I will still pull this A-pillar right here and see if that thing just separated. I don't see any signs of water. Oh, there's a little bit of water right there. That little edge. But that's not enough. That would have caused this. So I did see that this is the little box with the flapper that goes down into the fan. I'll do some cleaning. I'm gonna pull the wipers, and we'll get all this cleaned out since I'm here. But those drain holes on that little tube right there, like, you looking at what I'm looking at even there? So yeah, those drain holes on that little drain tube right there, they are cleaned. So there was nothing clogging any drainage for that. Kind of sucks working on the inside of the car when there's nowhere to sit. I have to bring a stool or something in here. Trying to gain access to this real quick because I want to see if there's any evidence of water. Pulled this out. I absolutely hate these little plastic things. You got to twist them 90 degrees and pull them out. They are wicked hard to get your fingers on. Oh my goodness. All right, these nasty little boogers. Man, those are hard to do. So you just got to get it to turn 90 degrees and then it just pops right out. Those things are hard. And all these are doing is protecting. When this airbag blows, it's supposed to push that out and just keeps it from flopping down and hitting you in the face. So it's on the side airbag, the curtain airbag here. So I'm pretty sure that this little hose right here is my hose, and there's no evidence of any water, and it is still connected right here where it's zipped. There's no evidence of any water, and apparently it's coming down somewhere back in here. This is the drain that should be coming out of the bottom of the fan motor, and I did have, yeah, it's wet back there. Oh wow, isn't that interesting? That's been ripped open. Or no, I think that's made that way. There's a flap there for some reason. But it was wet. Yeah, it's damp right where my fingers are at on the back side of that. So I think next I'm going to pull all this out. Well, I guess who's going to be making a trip to the junkyard because my little tab just broke off here. And I never knew it had this. It has a shock absorber sitting back here for it to come down nice and slow, although now it's not going to have any stops. Maybe it will. Maybe I can still get it behind there. I think we're all right. I think that's good. If it has one side. This side is definitely broken. It might work. Either I got to get a new frame for it. But I didn't know it had this shock absorber on the back. That's amazing. So let me keep playing here and figure out what all this is. And I think I got 8 screws to pop this thing out. All right, quick advice, have your feet ready to catch that thing when that 8th screw pops out, because it's attached by, this is your little light back here apparently. something. I don't even know if my glove box has a light. Never seen it light up, so we'll find out about that in this process as well. There's some other cord down here. All right, find myself in a predicament. This one's easy to get unattached. It just goes to there. I don't really know what it goes to because I've never really had a light in here, so I'm not really quite sure what it's all about. I'll follow that cord and see. Maybe I'm supposed to have a light somewhere and I have never had one active, but I really don't even know where it would sit. And then this one I think is going to the footwell light that sits right about here. I probably should have undone that before I dropped it on my feet. I should have separated this lower panel. So see if I can do that with it in here on my feet, sitting uncomfortably in the floorboards, in the floor wells of the car. All right, YouTube, it was right there. That green clip just goes right in the tip of there. So I was able to reach in and get it. Note to self, take that off first. It's just 2 bolts, one on either side, because you've already got all the trim pieces out. It should come out nice and easy had I have done it right the first time. But anyway, the whole assembly is able to come out now. And I still need to find out what the heck is supposed to light up in my glove box because I've never had one. All right, so just playing around in here. This is the fan motor. The bottom of the motor is right here where this hose comes off and drains through there down below the right side of the footwell. I thought I'd see the hose for the A-pillar in here. It must be behind this. So I need to get that out because there's no sign of any water on this side. All along this hose is good. On this side of this rubber insulation pad, but it is wet back here where my fingers are at. So I need to get back there, which means this needs to come off. I'm gonna fire up the battery and we're gonna pop this sunroof so I can pour water in here and see if it drains clearly or whether I get a leak into the footwell to find out if it's coming from here. Because when I'm down in there, that foam pad ain't coming out any easy. I did pull off the duct that comes from the bottom of the fan motor. No signs of water whatsoever, but it's wet behind that pad. There's no signs of water on top of the pad, but the pad it's difficult to get that out. So before I dig that deep, let's see if this drain is actually working. All right, so good news is water is pouring in right here. It's coming out down there just through the trim behind the fender there. So this is working. I'm gonna pour that whole cup in there just to see if any of it comes out on the inside of the car. But as much water was in this floorboard, I mean, that's a lot. All right, I don't think that's leaking on the inside of the car. So I have been doing this one correctly and cleaning it out. There's no signs that it's blocked up. I'll make sure that there's no water in the floorboard, so I'm pretty sure that cowl, it's coming through that cowl. All right, YouTube, 38 bucks at AutoZone, this cute little mini puller. Yep, I figured I'll just do that because I do not want to break that control arm on the wipers. I don't want to make this more expensive than it already is. All right, well, that doesn't seem to be working because I've tried it on both of them, and I am actually to the point where I actually bent the little thing going so tight, putting tons of pressure on it, and it is not popping free. It's possible those have been on there since the car was new. All right, well, I tapped them with a hammer, and then I put some Hoppy's number 7 or number 9 or whatever that is, my dad's favorite elixir. We'll see if that'll break them free. I'm a little worried that by the time I get in here, it's all gonna dry out in the foam and stuff, so I'm not gonna see any signs of the water. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour water in right here and see if it comes into the floorboards. Well, there's plenty of evidence that that one is working just fine. Interesting to note, it comes out in a different place. It comes in there in by the subframe instead of all the way out here where the A-pillar one was. So it's a little bit more inboard. All right, I got one to pop. Here's how I did it. I put it back on there with the Hoppies sitting there for 5 minutes or so. Got it nice and tight, but you can see I'm bending the heck out of this thing. Left the pressure on it, went and grabbed my little light nail hammer and just tapped really lightly with a nail hammer right here, and it popped free. And number 2 worked. So this side's a lot harder to get to. It popped free. I took a screwdriver, a long screwdriver, and stuck it right here on the back and then tapped it with a little nail hammer. And just like that, it all lifts out nice and easy. Didn't break anything yet that I'm aware of. So I come over on this side and there's the big duct that goes down in there. You can see where that opens up. Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. Oh, there we go. But you can see what I was talking about of the debris. All in here and not down in there. So that to me tells me that, see how this area is all clean? It kind of tells me that it was floating with water all up in here at one point. even though it's draining now. Because this would have normally, all that dark residue would have been around the base of the drain, not on this higher place. That's my theory. So supposedly, when water sits in here, it can soak in the edges of this and go right into the cabin. All right, well, I've been looking down in there. Let me grab a light. There's foam around the edge here. It's all old and disintegrated as you touch it, but it doesn't have any sensation of being wet. I'm not 100% confident that that's where it came from, but there's a lot of debris right here that isn't anywhere near this drain. That much debris and dirt I would have expected to be over there, not sitting back here somewhere. So I think this pooled up. I know what people have done is they've put that plastic piece back in, and then it has a little rubber seal, but they've put, once it's in and dried, or dry this area off and clean it, dry it off, put it back in, and then put some silicone sealant around it, and just to keep water from being able to get in there until it's way up this high. My other thought is it could have been a leak somewhere along the windshield on coming down the A-pillar on the outside and getting in. But if that was the case, I would have found water on the inside of the A-pillar, and there is none when I took that cover off. The only wet started below here, so I'm still thinking it's this. I'm just going to clean it up. All right, I got that all cleaned up. Cleaned up the little plastic housing that goes around it, and it does have a little rubber seal here on the bottom. Again, that's 24 years old, but it doesn't feel cracked or anything like that. In theory, if that rubber seal's good, it's going to have to get up pretty high to get past it. It sits in this orientation, so it's got to get up pretty high to get in there. But it could happen. Obviously it did. I'm not 100% sure that I trust it, so I'm kind of thinking if I get this all put back together, I might just put the seats back in it, put the front seats back in, clear the airbag lights, and drive it with no carpets. Take it to a car wash and just see if I can get the floorboard to fill with any more water. All right, well, I had a tube of this Permatex clear RTV silicone, and put it in there, just gooped it around with my finger all the way around there to kind of give it an extra seal. And just to give you an update on these ugly, gross, nasty things, let them sit in the sun and bake. This side is still damp. Still, like, I could squeeze water out of that right there. It just holds so much water. Actually, this side's wet. It's disgusting. That is gross sitting out here in the sun. Hopefully it's going to gradually find its way out. There we go. I'll do it like that. Nope, that ain't going to work. I have to prop it up somehow. Trying to get the water to flow through it and not towards the carpet. All right, so I popped this off of the little screw tabs it pops down onto with the plastic, just a little screwdriver to flex that electrical harness away. Got it all pulled away. These little tubes that go underneath these gets HVAC to the back seats right here. There's one on each side. They work perfectly just to stick up in behind that foam so air can get there and get all that cleaned out. I'm going to go ahead and do some more vacuuming in here, some more debris that fell out from all the old foam. I'm going to clean this all up, and we are going to start putting stuff back together. Obviously, the inside is not going to get anything but seats. I think I'll even leave that open. Just going to get it so I can drive it without airbag lights. All right, YouTube, I think I figured this out. I knew that hose looked, that little connector right there looked familiar. I'm pretty sure that's windshield washer fluid going across the top all the way to the back for the back window. And then separately, this is a 2002 V70. See if I can get this lit up and find it. All right, there's a black hose coming to a hard line right in there. And that black hose, if I get an angle and look up that way, goes straight to the corner of the sunroof. That is my sunroof drain, and it doesn't, like on all the pictures I've seen, right here would be a tube sitting outside, coming down, and then worming its way outside that grommet. This car is sitting on a hard line, so it's just a little rubber top that goes to this, and that thing is sitting, I can see it up inside that hole. It is there. It is not steel, but it is in there. It is permanent, and it goes out the fender well. So this car does not bring water inside the fender well from that roof drain. I have this still sitting open. The grommet's back there. I showed you that, but it does not have anything hooked to it. There's no elbow on this car. I don't know what to think. I did an AI search and it says no, it's supposed to be a soft, clear hose coming down that's outside the A-pillar frame, and mine is clearly metallic. I stuck a screwdriver up in there, tapped it. It is metallic. It is not ferrous. It is not metallic, or it's not magnetic, but it is definitely metal with just a little section of hose connecting it right there. And then it goes, it's inside the frame. It is not out exterior of the frame of this A-pillar. So there, yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it was an early design, and later they changed it and went to the hose that sits on the inside of the trim. Don't know, but I don't have it. And there is so much conflicting information on this car because I found a hard tube inside the A-pillar, and everything I saw online pointed to a hose that's supposed to be outside of the A-pillar and passing from the inside to the outside of the passenger compartment to get the water out. And that's not what this car has. And I'm just gonna show you what I found on the internet, and I'm trying to piece it together, and we're gonna see if we can find out where the A-pillar drain comes out, because it's all torn apart mostly anyway. So let's see what we find on this little research project before I put it back together to make it drivable. And we can test it with a garden hose and maybe drive it for a couple weeks and make sure there's no water leaks, because I don't want to have to do this again. All right, first bad piece of information I got off the internet watching YouTube. This drains the bottom of the motor. Yep, can come from the cowl. Water can get in there and it drains out through that little body grommet right there. That grommet that is further up in this area that is empty does nothing. Someone's riding a weed whacker up the street. Jesus, good timing. All right, so that little grommet is sitting up in, I'm trying to remember where, up there somewhere. Don't even need to see it. It does nothing. It's a grommet for something. It's the same on both sides. There is nothing passing through that one back behind the foam. All right, so most of the information I saw on YouTube videos online showed XC90s, or I think even some VS40s and stuff, newer. But they had a very, like a 3/8 inch interior diameter hose that was originally clear and had turned kind of dark from the debris running through it. But it drained all the way down just as a loose hose. And those go through a 90-degree turn through a grommet right in this area on an XC90. This car clearly doesn't have that because, as we saw with the flashlight, our hard tube hose or tube line is inside the A-pillar. So I've been looking around on Vita, and there's nothing in here. There's no bulletins on warnings, how to clean it, where to access the exit in that A-pillar, where it's at on this car. This is all I found. There's a leak test, and it's basically you pinch it off and you check to you can pull the hoses off, make sure you can reseal them, but it gives you two locations of where they're at on a wagon. This little call out is, this should be the, I believe that's the sunroof up there. It's kind of a weird drawing, showing you pulling the trim piece off, and it's coming, you know, it should be coming down the line from the sunroof, coming down somehow, but that's a really bad perspective. And then this is in the ABC pillar behind the rear seats. There's two drains on the back, which I never knew about. That's the rear seat catch mechanism when it lifts up the seat backs. So there's a hose coming down there that goes outside the body. So we're going to find those today too. But that's all I found. There's no extra information on bulletins. But Vita does include the parts diagram as the roof hatch in the body panels in the parts catalog. And this is where all the confusion comes in, because it doesn't show you any actual information of where it runs. But there's the little drain hole coming off the tray. So that's the front of the car. The car is facing this direction, front over here. That's the front of the sunroof. And this is the cassette where it rolls back into. So on the front corner, going towards the passenger side, would be a hose, a number 32, which is described as a plastic hose, 1,400 millimeters. That's 1.4 meters long. It is not a plastic hose. It is a little hose at the top in my car, connected to a hard tube. And then it gives you this number 33 at the bottom, which is a pass-through. Those part numbers, I looked those up on FCP Euro. Guess what a 1,400 millimeter tube costs? $257. No picture of it. But the little pass-through, that's what the XC90s have on those, but you know, up high on the A-frame above the dash. So somewhere down in there, it connects to one of those to get water into the nether regions. So it should be technically a tube coming down here, and there's a pass-through into this void space outside the passenger compartment, so it can drain down inside the fender well. And I've never seen it. I have found no evidence of it. If the tube has another rubber connector, that goes through a firewall protector right here to get it outside of the cabin. How do I make sure that the hard tube is connected to a rubber tube to the pass-through? There's no way to even see it on this car. So my thought is right now, I'm gonna pop 5 rivets on that fender liner. We're gonna pull that fender liner back and see if we can see in there. I did take, let's see if I grab a flashlight, walk you around on this side, because this door opens up really far. There's, just so you know, if you pull this up, that's solid under there. There's a solid panel, so you can't get in that way. You can't see, you can see back inside the fender. That's my little turbo boost gauge going inside the passenger compartment there, that little tube. But there's no way to see in there. And if we pop the door, because this door will open pretty far, I can get you here, and we can see back inside the nether regions behind the fender. I can see the fender liner sitting there, but I can't see where that tube is because it's going to be somewhere here, or up here. It's just got to get outside so it drains down solid materials. I don't know where it's at. Never seen one, never found any pictures of it online. So I'm terrified to put this car back together and find out it still leaks. Let's see if we can do some digging and see if there's better access. I mean, my God, do the whole fender panels have to come off to be able to make sure that the tube is connected to a hose to a pass-through? This is crazy. All right, YouTube, I'm going to try to show you what I found. I drilled out, there's 5 of them. There was one hidden up here that was just black. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rivet heads. Just drilled them out. They're sitting down there. There was one 10mm bolt that kind of just, it's a plastic bolt that goes on a stud right there, but if you pry that off, you get some flexibility in all of this. Let me maneuver that. I can look up in the top of the fender in the nether regions, see if I can light this up with you. Forgive me, this is going to be a little difficult to see because I'm not taking the wheel liner off completely. All right, there we go. Up above, so there is, that's electrical for my side marker light coming out of the car. There is that right at the tip of my light wand right there, that accordion. That is the electrical going into the passenger front door all the way up there. So there's the firewall. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, coming out on this edge of the firewall, which is going above the right front wheel. But there is a grommet right, I'm doing it looking on the screen, right above the hinge, which is ironic because it's above the electrical for the door as well. So water could technically run down right there and go back into the car. That's a possibility. I'm not 100% sure that that's the exit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some water in the roof drain and see if that's where it's coming out. All right, just going to pour a little bit of water in. We don't need a lot. I don't need to flood my garage. Definitely don't want to flood my floor well. Although now it would be just fine. Okay, good. I hear drippings. Something fell. Don't know what that was. Lots of drippings. That's further back than I was expecting. It's dripping back here, but the car is up in the air. Hang on, let me get on a creeper here. Okay, well, you're dripping from just inside here, so about where my pen is at. That's a little bit further back. What do we get up here? First view. This is awkward. Nothing wet in the front. All right, I don't see any signs of water from that grommet. Just to calm my own fears that grommet was dry. Actually, it's just a seal. I ran my hand up there, and that grommet above where the wire loom comes out, that is completely sealed. There's no hole in the middle of it, so it's not like it disconnected and should be coming out there. It's coming down inside the column. All right, well, that's how I remembered it. You get to see my finger goop of clear RTV silicone to lock around the base of that thing and hopefully help that seal out. But it's completely body glued. That is a solid panel. There's just no way to see. Somewhere right here is where that is exiting down through a solid channel in the body. All right, YouTube, I'm going to try to get you to see this. I am looking inside of the lower trim with my head stuck, wedged into the How can I do this? I gotta hang this light. Give me a second. We're gonna make this work. So do you see those little water drops in there? Right inside of the skirt is a little gap in the welds of the frame. And it's got like a little bubble and there's drips coming out. You can actually see the water jiggling there in the light. That's where it comes out. So it's up inside of this structure. Up in there is where that is, probably way up at the top, way up in there. Inside that hollow crash cage, outside the firewall, at the bottom of the A-pillar, water is running down. All right, just giving you a quick update. This appears to be the same type of attachment that, or a little fastener that the cowl uses, the same one with a really super strong pin, and I literally had to destroy it into pieces to get it to come out completely. So I have more of those coming, but there is a little flapper door here, and up inside of there is just a little void in the spot welds of the frame. So I wonder if that's where the water's supposed to come down, and mine is actually coming out of a spot weld a little bit further forward. Like, what? Is this giving you access to see if there's debris there? I don't know what this little flapper door is for. But you know what? I think I will stick some string trimmer in there and see if we can just get it to come down through, because my water comes out here. This is the area where the water comes out. And this is obviously a little bit further to the rear. All right, well, I just ran some stringer trim, or trimmer string, and it went to where my fingers are at the hole. So that is a long way. That would have been all the way down. So I'm gonna do it again, see if I can get it all the way back in there, and just see if I can see it sticking out the bottom. Nope, can't see it poking out the bottom. Grins, I just poured some water into the fan directly and waited. It took about 10 seconds and it's dripping out right there. Oh, right where that flap's at. That's where that drips out. So there's two different little channels. It's coming out where that little flap is. All right, that is quite the wrestling project, but I did get the passenger seat in through here, dropped it into the back, carried it across, moved it forward, dropped it onto its mounts. Wear gloves so you can grab the bottom of the frame. It's got sharp edges everywhere. Yeah, nice and easy, looking like a race car. All right, man, I'm out of breath. That is hard to wrestle in there. Got it in. Got to do 8 bolts, and it is ready to go out on the mean streets and hunt down some WRX and M3s. And with my new brakes, I'll break them into the corners and drive away from them laughing in my station wagon. Look at that, race car mode. All right, you're gonna have to trust me on this. I did start the car with the seats connected, and there is no check airbag light message because I never started it without the seats connected. I just turned it on to get the power. I just gave it power to get the sunroof open. So it ran with no messages. That's great news. I'm positive I can clear those with Vita anyway, but I'm gonna reinstall my glove box and start buttoning up the hatches in here, except for carpets. I'm gonna keep it in race mode for a while, although it's gonna be a little weird to drive because the pedals are gonna be really high since I'm missing 4 inches of foam down there. Interesting. All right, let's get this battened back up. I did order from IPD a replacement little bulb that goes in here. I think I ordered a couple of them. And then also the pins that are going to hold that cowl back on there because it's still sitting off. Let's get this buttoned down. Well, I just discovered why I never had a little shock absorber on my glove box, because 2 of the 4 little wings are broken off. They no longer exist. It does not press on and lock on, so maybe I can get a new one of these. Pull one from the junkyard or something. All right, glove box is in. Now to put back in my A-pillar, I put that foam back in the corner. Again, I do not have a 90-degree channel right there, or you know, the little soundproofer, the little drain. So that foam sits in the corner. Just gotta get this in here, and I gotta get my fingers wedged up in there to grab the key on this. You gotta, that's how it wants to sit and lock, but to get it in, you gotta turn it 90 degrees and then get it to pop into place with your fingers barely fitting, and then you can thread all of this fabric across the top. All right, these are now dry. They've been sitting out in the sun for several days while I've been out here working. So they are dry, kind of gross. This looks like this one was wet long enough, or wet before. Turned kind of pinkish, so maybe I'll hit it with some Lysol. Yuck, that's kind of gross. This was the orientation that the V70 was sitting in the driveway during the monsoons while I had the Acura in the garage working on my daughter's car. And you can tell the driveway lifts a little bit in the front and it's settled and leans a little bit to the right, which is why I think it was the cowl drain with that debris up in the side corner. It probably plugged, and then as the water built up in there, it dissolved the goop holding it together and floated to that back corner as it drained. That's my theory. Anyway, we're going to start at the bottom, which would be the cowl drains. And we're going to use the hose, put water on them, a little monsoon, and check each one and see when we end up with water in the cabin. Hopefully never. And just let it go directly into that drain hole, which is right above the cowl drain. Not going crazy, just keeping it nice and steady. I can hear it draining. Oh yeah, look at all that. It's working great. Just back on my feet. This side never flooded inside the car. All right, I left some debris in here so I could tell when it's floating around. It actually came out of the foam when I was putting everything back together. Slammed on the brakes, but there is no moisture, none whatsoever. Everything is nice and dry, just like it should be. Perfect. And the other side, I did it as well. No moisture. We proceed. Let's go to the, let's kind of go to the windshield. That's why I left the windows up. Let's go to the windshield as it runs down the cowl. Probably should have done the bottom part first and then the upper part. But I would know if it was running down the A-pillars. There was no sign of any water, nothing was damp. There was no sign of the damp inside the A-pillars. Just like that, we are still dry as a bone. Culprit discovered. We are not dry as a bone on the windshield shower. It's coming in right there and coming down. Now we got to find out what was it. It's definitely the cowl drain. Maybe it was just too much for it to handle. Here's my updated thought. Since we found a water leak, it wasn't a lot. Maybe we improved things. It can just drain faster, but it's still leaking. Let's pull the cowl off, pull the wipers off, pull the cowl off, and let's do that with the cowl open so we can see what's happening in there and see if we can identify the actual problem. All right, so here's what I'm finding. Definitely water in here all over the place. Should be wet because we know it can drain out. That side didn't leak. This side did. It is wet inside the fan, which I wasn't expecting. I have no idea why it would have done that, because unless it's overflowing here and dripping in. But that, I mean, there's supposed to be water that gets into there, and then it drains out a hose on the bottom through the sidewall at the foot feet. For it to get up above, it's got to be coming in somewhere else. So maybe I still got a leak on this RVT and RTV, whatever, and it's just rolling back in where I actually can't feel right now. All of that is wet. All right, let's, it didn't go over the top because the top of this isn't wet, except for right there, but that's the upper side. So let's kind of try it again with this opened and see what's happening. All right, we're still going full shower mode, and with the cowl not there, it can't drip directly in. So I'm kind of watching what's happening with that drain. It's draining almost all the water, guys. It's not building up that high. I have a feeling I just haven't got a good enough seal on that RTV around the bottom of that thing, because that is not lifting very high. Maybe it's clogged inside at the bottom where it comes out, but it's still draining really, really well. And it didn't like that. It didn't like that at all. There's a lot more water coming in here. See that? And it's on top of the mat. It's not coming out of the bottom of this. So that is draining like it should. It doesn't like the amount of water coming along the sides of that box. I don't think I sealed it good enough. Got to do another layer of RTV on there. And no water on the driver's side, even though I flooded the cowl. And the difference being, there's no HVAC intake on this side. Just the wiper motor and some electronic wiring. So that's the difference, that box over there. All right, so just to find out that it's, I want to confirm if it's the water inside or outside. I think it's the water outside of the HVAC intake that's getting through. Just need to fix this situation and put some more RTV on there. Clearly I didn't get enough. I'm gonna put water directly into the fan. I dried up the floorboard and let's see what we get. Not going full shower. That's more water than should ever be in there. You can definitely tell it's coming out the bottom. The drain is working. I just want to see if it's creating any on the inside from this little intake. Well, that wasn't expected. It's not only dripping into the rail here, it's just running back along the plastic rail. But the car is leaning backwards, front end's up a little bit. All right, YouTube, I think we found our culprit. That's the most water yet. It filled up my basin. So this, while it is draining, isn't draining fast enough, I guess. Not really sure what the culprit is there. It worked just fine. It's still draining out of the inside of there. And that was only on the inside of the cowl. On the inside of the intake on the fan. That's the most water yet. We found it. Check it out. I'm in here mopping this up and it is still draining. I mean, I haven't been putting water into the fan for 3 or 4 minutes. That's interesting. All right, so when I was running water over it with the cowl, it trickled a little bit. I did some research. I found an old Swede Speed forum post, and their culprit was this. This piece, this trim piece, is no longer snug. It hasn't been snug for a very long time. It slides on and off the windshield with ease. Matter of fact, the cowl can slide left or right. It just doesn't pinch anymore. So this old rubber has gotten hard, and it apparently allows water to come through here. And then when it drips on this side, although I don't have any water on the, oh yeah, we do, right there. Would you look at that? Yep, right where it would be a problem. So it apparently lets water slowly drip, and it drips off the back side of this cowl piece right above the HVAC opening. If it does that for a very long time, it's just gonna flood out the cabin because it's gonna soak. So we supersized that by putting the hose directly into the engine motor. I thought it would have drained that much water through that hose, to be honest. Gonna make sure that hose isn't clogged at all. Anyway, what the solution is the XC90s have an additional piece. I mean, I could find that trim piece, but that's gonna be wicked expensive on a 24-year-old car. But the XC90s apparently have a cover right here so that water can drip, because they know that seal is not gonna last forever. And when the water drips in here, it does not go into the motor. It hits a shield and falls over, and there's an opening on this side of the shield that allows the air to get in. All right, I was anticipating I would go to the junkyard and buy one of those. FCP Euro sells an OEM Volvo one, brand new, for 16 bucks. Yeah, that's a lot easier. XC90, and as you click through the photos here, that's the inside of it. It is solid. That's just a piece of tape. There it is. There's the cover, and that's exactly how it's going to sit. And it allows water to drip right across the top of it. Brilliant. That's an easy solution, people. I just got to figure out how to glue it in because I don't have any of the clips like an XC90 would. Remember how that was dyed stained pink? Probably some sort of scary-ass bacteria. Look at that, what ran to the back seat. It's pink. Interesting. All right, the plot thickens because I just pulled this and it's dry on the inside. It didn't run any water. That is dry. So is that just the condenser drain? And it has nothing to do with the HVAC fan, and all of that water I poured in there, you saw me do it, came into here. That would about match up with how much water was in here. So the fan itself doesn't have a drain? Wow. All right, more flooding. So I experimented. I pulled this out and just left the hose here, and I poured a small amount with a cup very carefully so it only flowed into the fan wheel itself, where the bottom of that hose hook, or the top of that hose hooks right in the bottom of the fan wheel. And it does drain. You can see that's all I brought in. Show you how I did it. Up here on the top. So I used this little door, and I just poured it so it would run directly and go straight into there. So I think the problem is the shape. So it's meant to drain water that gets into the fan wheel, you know, haphazardly. But when you get a lot of water coming off of all of this windshield, it's going on the outside of the fan wheel on this motor housing, and it's just gonna hold that water in spaces in there and leak its way down on the, there's like another, that's plastic, it's on the top. And then I think this, I can't really get my hand in there, on the sides there, but it's just gonna hold that water and drip it down through. That's the problem. This is a design flaw. It should have a drain for the whole perimeter in there, not just the center of the little fan wheel. All right, YouTube, got an idea. You know what's cheaper than a $15 Volvo part that doesn't fit anyway? An old can of Peak Asian Automotive. This is from doing my daughter's car. I just cut the back out of it and it fits perfect. I don't know what I did with the lid. Anyway, it fits right over that. Just freaking perfect. So I might even have space. Just bend that, collapse that part around the little nub that comes down to drain the cowl. All right, let's give that a proof of concept and see how much we flood into the inside. It still might leak in the inside from the base of the RTV. All right, this is probably my last flood the zone live test because it's getting ready to rain. I just felt a few sprinkles. So it is not over flooding the bottom here. It is pooling, so it might be leaking in a little bit, but that is doing its job. Water coming off the window is not going in. Let's go check the floorboards. No way. Just a little bit of drop right there. Unreal. It's that simple. That's all it was. Oh, another drop coming down. That's probably just because I need the RTV seal because that was a lot of water in the cowl. All right, I need to go get another tube of RTV because that other one was hard. And we're gonna put another coat around there. We're gonna seal that up really good so it can flood in there. This is not airtight. I might even cut open this little part right here. Some more air can get, it's not airtight. Air's gonna get in there. It's gonna be good. All right, well, I took the X-Acto knife. It cuts really easy. Just be careful not to cut yourself. I just kind of opened it up a little bit more on the back side. I'm leaving the handle intact just so that water can run off of it and not get in. I didn't really want that, but I did open up a little area here. I wanted to keep the cap on there because I thought it looked cool, but it probably makes more sense to have more air intake. So I think we're good. Let's get that on there and see if it'll sit snug. Absolutely perfect. Yep, I like it. We're gonna leave it open and it sits loose enough. It can sit in there. It's not gonna have enough to be able to get off. It's tight enough. It's solid on the back, so it's not gonna slide. Yeah, I like it. That's gonna work. I just can't imagine I'm ever gonna be in a rainstorm doing that. I mean, that's cray cray. Like, I need a boat if it's raining that hard. I need an ark. And after all that, we are bone dry except for right there. One little drip coming down. I just need to get more RTV so it can handle that much water flooding the cowl. A little RTV tonight, let it set. We'll test it again tomorrow. Stay tuned. All right, that's a pretty good proof of concept. So I'm gonna get that RTV, we're gonna reseal that. I'm gonna drive it for a week or two. Keep on the lookout to see if I can find some Nordcat blue V70R seat or carpets I can put in there to match the seats. And yeah, I'm gonna put it outside in the monsoon rains, make sure nothing's leaking in for probably a week or two. Trust me, people, you got an old S60 or V70R, regular, whatever, pull the cowl, look in there, pull the passenger seat, pull that carpet. I guarantee it's flooding underneath. You just don't know it because the carpet is sealed on the bottom so that anything you spill on the carpet doesn't soak into the foam, which means you can't tell that it's wet underneath. So do yourself a favor. I don't wish this whole thing, this is nasty. I don't wish this on anybody. Go check yours now before it's too late. We'll check back in a week or so, 2 weeks, and see how my water situation is, and we'll do some real world testing. All right, so quick update. I've let this sit all day so it could dry out. I blasted it with air from the air compressor. I scuffed it with sandpaper so that the silicone will have gouges into it so it's not super smooth and it can reconnect. And I cleaned it with alcohol. So we are ready to go. There are a couple places, like you can see, like right there, there's like at the bottom of that lip where I did not get a seal. There's like a little tiny air bubble like dot or something right there. So I definitely didn't get a clean seal all the way around here. This piece of plastic is solid all the way on the outside. These clips are interior of the frame of it. So I'm just gonna, I bought another can, or another one of these. And I am going to just completely douse it and get a huge buildup of silicone on there, clear RTV, and make sure that thing is watertight, and then put my cover back on. Ooh, that's a lot of RTV. That stuff will give you a headache, killing some brain cells here. So it's really hard to get around the back and see what I'm doing. Obviously, I can't see what I'm doing. I guess I could put a mirror on the back, but I've definitely got the front built up a lot. I don't see any more gaps. I don't see any more air holes. So I'll check with a mirror on the back, but I think that's probably pretty good. It's ugly as can be, but what do I care? It's gonna be covered by a peak antifreeze bottle and then a nice beauty shield. So it'll be perfect. All right, so it's set overnight and it's looking pretty good. Like, I don't see any areas where I missed. Not feeling the lip, or I can't get my fingers underneath all the way around. That's great news. Still smells a little bit. It'll off gas. Yeah, you can smell the silicone a little bit. Just that RTV. Yuck. But anyway, it'll get better. Hopefully, because that's my cabin air intake. That's going to be watertight. I'm going to pull it out and give it another test. But I just did a search on Google asking what year did Volvo update the cabin air intake on the P2 V70, S60, XC70 to prevent water intrusion from the windshield. And the answer I got back was, Volvo never did it. They just came out with a service bulletin saying, hey, the XC90 has a flap to cover that. So you could probably figure out a way to put that in there. That, to me, should have been a recall. It also tells me that most likely that is a ticking time bomb on the XC70. Oh goodness, so I'm gonna be doing the same thing on that car because I don't want to be ripping out interior with a flood situation going on. Yuck! I'd actually put a little slit in here when I was cutting and trimming a little bit more air. The knife kind of slid, and this plastic's so thin and easy to cut through. So I actually had to get out my old plastic welding kit, or what's left of it. It doesn't have an attachment anymore that goes on the end, and just melt in some new vinyl. But it's so sensitive to heat that it burned a hole in it. And this is my only jug. This is the only one I got available. I mean, I got others I could pour the coolant out of, but I thought I'll plastic weld it. So I just had to build it up. And you can see where the hole opened up and it leaked through, but it is now light tight. There's nothing getting through. So we're good to go. We're 99% good to go. And I've taken some design cues from the XC91. I did cut the handle and the spouts off so that I can get more airflow going in. It is obviously not airtight. And then I did cut the handle. I opened it so it can have a little bit more flexibility and act like a spring. Because remember, the cowl beauty cover has the drain on the top that sits about right here in this spot right there. Has a little tube that goes down. I wanted that to be able to be a little bit flexible and push back against it and just hold it in place, but not move everything off of where it's supposed to be. It's not easy to get that out, to be honest. It's it's easy to put in, but once it's in there, it kind of grabs the lips and it's hard to get out. So I think we're good. And the other recommendation is to take the RTV clear silicone and put a seal all the way in there, all the way across. And that way when it reattaches to the windshield, because this is just expanded just a wee bit too much on that U shape, that valley, and it doesn't make a pinch on the windshield. So you can put a little bead in there that keeps the water from going around the back of the windshield, because it's the water that gets in here, comes around and drips straight in. So it shouldn't be that much water, right? It can drip all at once, all over there. We don't care. It's right here is the problem child. So I'll probably do that when I get all my clips and my little buttons come back in and we do a final reinstall. I will do that. But right now, we're going to proof of concept this one more time. I'm not going to put the cowl on yet. I'm just going to put water, a ton of water right here. So I know it's not going down inside. It's got a drain to here. And we'll see if any infiltrates, just to test our RTV sealant. I think we're good. Let's do a final proof of concept. All right, a little before, there is no moisture whatsoever. I stuck the vent tubes to the back seats underneath the foam again to get air to get in there and dry it out from the biblical flood yesterday. So obviously that'll help it get through and we'll see it sooner. Just gonna leave the door open because I'm not gonna be spraying the entire roof. We're just gonna put water here. And a lot of water. That is full blast. And it is building up. You can see it back around the edges of the jug. You can see it going that way. See if we can get all of it to go this way. I don't want to spray towards it because it'll get through my little vent hole. All right, that's definitely built up enough. Let's see. You can hear it. Clearly it's draining out to the bottom. Ha ha ha! Yes! Not a single drip. Proof of concept, people. Proof of concept. It did just strike me though when I pulled it out here to do this testing again. We never even got to test this one, but I know that's not the problem. So we'll do a test on that one here in a minute. All right, time for the cowl to go back on. And then we'll do a biblical flood test coming off the windshield. Right here where I'm running my fingernail, that's where the water's getting in to be able to drip off that windshield into that HVAC cabin access. It's just not snug enough. I mean, you can tell, look how easy it moves. It's just gotten stretched out over time. So I was able to watch it go in there, and it did push my little blue jug handle back. I'll look in there real fast before we do a flood and make sure it hasn't shifted. Get my light and look in there really close, and then we'll do a biblical flood down the windshield. Just so you know I'm staying honest, another dryness check in here before we do biblical windshield flood. I say we do it. No time like the present, people. No time like the... Oh, let's close the door. That would suck. How'd water get in your car? I left the door open during biblical flood testing. All right. I have no idea what you're seeing. Tried not to soak myself. Trying to feed as much water as possible into that drain. Yay! You know what? We'll simulate car wash. Because I do hit the engine quite a bit. So, I don't know why I did that, because that's obviously not going to leak into the cabin. Alrighty, that should be enough. Let's check our interior. Lake Mead here is growing faster than the real Lake Mead. Oh my goodness, not a single drop. That's the solution, and it was free. Oh my goodness, do this, people. Do it before you have ruined carpet. The other thing I did notice is I've been setting the carpet on the roof in the garage. It's a lot lighter when it's not full of water. Like, it weighs next to nothing. They were so heavy when I pulled them out and hard to get out because they were just soaked. Well, two of them, that one and the one behind it. So, yuck. I do this right away, people. I'm doing it on that car next. All right, full disclosure, I did not feel comfortable in any way, shape, or form using the garden hose in this little track. So I just got a full tumbler of water, pulled it, I flooded it to the point that it went, you know, halfway towards the other side, but still draining over here. And it all came out right down here. I heard it going into Lake Mead. And nary a drop. Oh yeah. All right, let's make sure the other side's working. All right, with the slope of the car, I couldn't pour as much into this side because it wants to run to the other side a little sooner. But it did come down and dribble on the driveway, and there is not a single drop of water in here. We are golden. And it just struck me that I tried to flood that, so I just want to check the inside edges. No moisture. None. Not any evidence of any water. So if water backs up too much in that trough on these earlier ones, because it's, remember, you don't have a drain sitting right there. It doesn't go through right there. So it's probably going to show, if these clog, it's probably going to show up here somewhere. That's where you're going to see water because it's not going to be able to get out. It's going to come over and get you in the head. All right, just drove it in, and I actually did a quick test sitting here in the garage and made the fan run on high, and plenty of air is blowing through. So it's not like it's sucking itself and creating a problem. I'm not going to put the silicone in here until I get the plastic rivets to reset this into its place for a final assembly. I'm going to leave it where it's at for now. I do want to put windshield wipers on here because I created that situation, and I do want to drive this for a couple weeks. You know, it's going to take a little bit until I get those. I'll leave the little corner pieces off and stuff. We'll get those on final assembly. But I am going to do the windshield wipers, and I'm going to set them in the middle because I washed away my marks. I think I read it says 50 millimeters, 5 centimeters, dead center on the wiper from this lip. So that's where they're going to be set, and we'll see, make sure that they work good. But that's not how they were before. They were a little cattywampus. Guess who forgot which windshield wiper is which? Oh, I think one's a different length. Ha! That'll give it away. All right, quick question to Google, and it turns out the driver's side is 24 inches and the other one is 22, which looks to be about what we have here. So this is left, this is left driver, that is right passenger. US, of course. All right, I did hit these with some anti-seize, because just to make it easier in the future, just put a little bit on there sparingly, and then I'm just experimenting. It's really hard because you got to do it with the lever up, because the pressure it puts on here from the hinge with the spring, but it's really hard to gauge. But already I am more than 50. That's about 60. So I got to go down probably one more notch, but it's hard to do because it pops off. So you kind of got to do it blind and blind and blind until you get it set right. It is so deceptive getting those on there. This is right about 5.5. So probably one more spline, but I gave up on it. That's good enough for me. This one I thought by putting it on here, and when I dropped the arm, look how high it is. I mean, I thought, man, that looks perfect. Nope, too high. Way too high. I mean, we are 7'8", so I need to go 3 centimeters lower. So close. That's 4 centimeters. I need one more notch. It is so hard just to get this. I keep bouncing back and forth. Nailed it. Nailed it. And it doesn't hit. It comes right to the edge of the weather stripping there. Yep, I already set that one to 16 Newton meters. I'm done. 5.5 is perfect. I don't know. I mean, that was like one extra notch changed a whole centimeter. So that is what they're supposed to look like. Pretty dang cool. Precise. I just got in the car, gave them a quick run through. They don't hit each other. Obviously not. And this is the line where it stops. So we are good. I think in the past it used to come up here and it used to angle a lot more. Kind of interesting. Not sure why it was done that way, but yeah, we're good. And that one's actually going, you know, that's a 0.5 centimeter too far up. Just footage. Since I have this little handy dandy wiper puller, I went ahead and pulled the rear wiper off, because last time I tried to do this, I couldn't get it to pop. Didn't want to break the glass. Use that, popped super easy. Just make sure you remove the little sprayer nozzle, because this is the motor. I took it off. It comes through the windshield glass, and the windshield fluid comes through that little brass pipe, and it goes into this nozzle and sprays up onto the rear windshield. So make sure you remove that before you use that, or you're going to break that plastic piece. And supposedly, it's this seam right here, this little lip. Water hits that and it just corrodes itself and locks itself into place. So I'm going to hit it with Hoppy's number 7. What is this? Hoppy's number 9. My dad's super penetrating oil. And we'll see if we can break the corrosion in there. I had, on this motor, rebuilt it from the backside and hit it with lithium grease on the inside. So I know the inside is fully lubed up. Every once in a while this thing will work, but most of the time it doesn't, because I know it's gotten corroded. So let's see if we can break it free. All right, so I also put a little bit of the Hoppy's number 9 outside. So the center brass one, I think that's brass. The center barrel is where the windshield washer fluid comes through. And on this little, where my fingertip of my fingernail is, inside that void, I also put some Hoppy's in there so it can penetrate. So I'm going to put it back together. Let Hoppy's do his magic. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I know the inside is fully lubed and resealed with white lithium grease, because I did that a couple years ago. So I'm going to put it back together and call it good. I do know that this one, when it died, was parked in its lowest position. So I'm not worried about, if you don't know that and you're grabbing one of these out of the junkyard, make sure you got the right year. I did upgrade this one to the upgraded system, so it now parks on, I can't remember which side it parks on. It parks on the right, I believe. This is the upgraded system. It's not the one that came in 2002. I think this is 05 later, and it's just they park on the opposite sides, and it's just a difference of the motor. The wiring's exactly the same. They work just fine. But if you're getting one that's used out of the junkyard like I did, you need to put it in without that attached and get it to run and park itself before you attach that. And then make sure you got the right one, because someone like me may have switched it out off the car. So they will work in the 05s, will work in the 02s. The electricity is the same. They just park on opposite sides. That's just a motor mechanism. I can show you how to take it apart, but once you're putting it back together, it's just the reverse. So it's 3 bolts, 3 10s, one there, one there, one there. It's an electrical clip. Easy enough, and it is a windshield washer fluid that puts it through the center of the mechanism barrel. It just comes through that hinge right there. All right, which is kind of funny because we started looking at that. That's actually my camera lens. I remember putting that in. It's coming down through the grommet. It's in the main part of the grommet coming in. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of funny because we started that with the whole flood project, looking at that stupid line coming across the hood. Actually, it goes this way. It comes through the hood liner, up through here, and through right there. All right, most people already know this already, but there's just 4 bolts. There's a bunch of little push pins. I had some yellow ones in there, but they just aren't big enough. This is actually not even metal. This is a composite. So they, over time coming in and out, they just wear a little bit of that composite away, and they don't, these yellow ones, brand new yellow ones, don't even hold it. I had 3 white ones I kind of dispersed in a triangle, and that held it way better. And then 1, 2, 3, and 4 T25s, and that's it. You're good. Drop it down, keys are out. Yeah, windows are down, we're good. So there's my little thing coming through. Yep, I can see some hoppies working away in there, so maybe that thing will start spinning at some point. Cross our fingers. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It hasn't worked in months. So I did use the pick and kind of clean the splines just to get any corrosion out of there. I did put some anti-seize on there, just a little bit to save it easier. Lined this up so it's fairly, I don't like them perfectly level because I like the water to run off of it. So I did it just a little bit up, and now I just need to insert the little spray nozzle. It's super easy. I can do this with you. It's sitting right here. You just want it so the two little things are pointing up kind of at the windshield, and they are, if I remember right, tunable. So you can spin the whole mechanism or adjust the 2 little things. And to be honest, I just eyeball it, and if it doesn't turn out right when it starts spraying, again, I'm not going to spray anything unless I know this thing's working, because it just ends up with a soapy mess on the back. So I'm just going to guess, shove it in there, call that good, and if it it's super easy, just you can spin it. So it's nice and easy, and you can just stick a little paper clip or a needle point in there and just massage those things to get them to spray where you want them. And the beauty cover's back on there. It's perfect. Now if it just hits a bump at some point and decides to work, that'd be even better. All right, I think that's a wrap for me. I'm going to drive this thing for probably 2 weeks. If you're watching and you're out on YouTube land and you just happen to be holding a good set of Volvo V70R Nordcap blue interior carpets, DM me down there. Love to get those. Hit subscribe while you're at it. Track mode may be light and fast, but it kind of sucks. There ain't no cup holder in here. Send me a lead on some carpets, people. I want to get this rebuilt.